You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey, folks, I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Wayne.
And we're the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about
How we game.
It is Thursday night, and it is your night to talk about how you game.
Wah, wah, wah.
After this 30 minutes of us kind of updating you on what we've been up to,
Chit-chatting.
you know, doing the primer thing. And then we'll open up the phone lines and allow you to tell us about how you game.
Yeah.
How we game. I know there was a recent game day with the Wesley Chapel Gaming Group.
Sure was.
And two of the beans were able to attend.
Yep.
Not this one. The two light beans.
Two light color beans. Pinto?
The butter beans?
Not even pinto. I say, what do you get to when you get to that?
My butter beans.
Yeah, butters. Yeah, it's almost white. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Now we got to play Bonanza. How has Beans and Dice not played Bonanza yet? I mean,
That's a good question. I think you brought it over once.
Yeah.
But it never got to the table.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to
We
make
got
it
to make that happen. Yeah, got to play that one.
But Wayne,
What's
tell
up?
us about game day.
That was awesome. We went over to Nick Oben's house, frequent caller of the show. He runs the Wesley Chapel Gaming Group. Well, just trying to think of how many people. It's got to be like 15, 20 people.
That's what I was telling Carlos. I think
it
it was at least 10 additional gamers, and then there was a family thing because he had the pool. He smoked some meats. It was awesome. The pulled pork and the sliders and the those little bacon wrapped pork bites that he made. Oh, went home, told my daughter about it because she didn't go.
Pork on pork.
As soon as I told her, she's like, "Shut up! I don't want to hear anymore. I missed it."
Yeah, but it's good. People can't. People started showing up around noon, and then people. We were there till 6 or 7, so it was good. Like 7 or 8 hour game day. It was good. It was, there were light games. We played some kids games. We played a heavier game or two. Got to try out the Star Wars.
I don't remember what's the name of it. The new
Unlimited,
the
Star Wars
CCG Unlimited. There you go.
Star Wars Unlimited. Played. I got to break out an old classic ugly box cover game for some folks. So Sam and
sure did.
Rob and Nick. So it was good.
Yeah, you got more games in than I did. I got there a little late. I think it was about an hour and a half after you.
Yeah. So I played 5 or 6 games that day. So it was nice.
Cool.
Any highlights?
We got to highlight something. So
I'll let Rob talk about the big one, but I got to play No Thanks. I've been trying to play that. I've been playing on BGA since Mike talked about it a week or two ago, and I own a copy, so I brought it. We played that with a couple of Nick's kids and some of the people that were there early, and the Star Wars Unlimited, which was really good. It was fun.
Tell me about No Thanks real quick. Was it the blue box edition?
It's the one you have.
Okay, and what do you think about the buttons on it? Like the buttons that they're using?
They once you start playing with when I first took them out of the bag, they seemed to kind of stick together a little bit. Mm-hmm. But as you play with them more, they kind of they break apart and they stay apart. So it was all right. It was good. For $8, I'm not going to complain, right? I can always play.
It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. The cards are pretty big, and it was good. It was interesting. We played like 6 or 7 player, and it was good. Took a little bit for some of the kids to grasp it. But once they got it, like, oh, that's how it works. Okay. Yeah. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. It's definitely a game that's going to be thrown in the bag as sort of like a filler game, or, hey, we got 20 minutes. Let's just play this real quick. Because, really, a game of that should take 5 or 10 minutes max if you're really cranking it. So,
yeah. I missed that. I actually have never played that in person. I've played it on BGA a couple times. I just discovered that game. Oh, I think I mentioned it last show or a couple shows back. I just discovered that game just a couple of months ago. So I've never had played it. I'd heard about it plenty, but I'd actually never played it until somebody stumbled across it on BGA, posted a game. I was like, sure, I'll jump in on that. And then a couple days later, I jumped into another one. A couple days later, jumped into another one. Got a little addicted. So it was good. It's I like it. So for those of you who have played it in person and on BGA, that might only be Wayne. Have you played?
I've not played BGA.
Okay,
I'm not a huge BGAer.
What do you think?
It's good. I think it really just plays the same.
Okay.
But I think the it's interesting on BGA. You can't read people, like, as far as like you're trying to read people's faces. Like, are they really going to take it, or can I afford to let it go around one more time and get some more tokens? So you kind of play that game a little bit. So it's a little bit, I think, more of a good bluffing-ish game in person, because you're trying to like suss out who's all right, that's the next card in my run, but no one wants that, so it should make it around a couple of times. Whereas on BGA, you really just got to play it mathematically. It's like, well, I don't know who's playing, and they may just, take it just to take it. So, but it was fun.
There's definitely a social aspect to it in person that is what my family enjoyed. That's what got my family to want to play it again and again.
Oh, yeah.
Was the social piece of it and the laughter that comes along with it, and the questioning looks like, why are you taking that now? That was all what added to the enjoyment of the game, which I'm sure would be lost in translation on BGA.
A little bit.
Okay, while you were talking there, I know the game that you really want to talk about, and I appreciate that you want to talk about because I enjoyed it also. But I'm actually on BGG right now looking at the description for theme, because we played this, and I typically don't care much for theme, and I was just looking to see if there was a real theme to it, but it doesn't really seem like it. But anyway, Village. So this is a game. Let me get this information on it here. 7.5 rating on BGG, 2 to 4 players. Weight 3.06. We talked about that while we were there. Somebody had asked us, how I think it was Ashley asked, how heavy is this game? And we were like, it's a little heavier than average. It's definitely a little on the heavier side. It's probably what I think we agreed we'd consider this a mid-weight Euro. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's they rated 3.06 out of 5. So I think I'd agree with that. I might say slightly heavier, but that's probably pretty close. But anyway, the BGA crowd, the BGG crowd, they kind of rate things on the light side because there's a lot of heavy gamers on there. But as far as theme, I mean, you could probably do better than I was just going to read what's here. But it's basically just here. It says you're just kind of building a town, taking different roles. But what would you say the theme in this is?
I mean, it's it's medieval. You're a family in a medieval village, and there's what it is the board is a village, right? And so you have like the craftsman's area, you have like the government, you have like the church, you have the bar, and you have like exploring the world. And the whole purpose is to bring prestige to your family. And so one of the great mechanisms of this game is on your individual player board, as you take certain actions in the game, you can expend time, and you move a little time tracker around the outside of your board. And every time you cross over a bridge, one of your meeples dies. And depending on where it dies in the city or in the village or out in the world or somewhere, they go to this annals of the village history. And you score victory points based on where they get placed, so you can score victory points by people who left in the church, people who left in the government, those kind of things. So it's kind of just like a simulation of a medieval village, right?
For some reason, I was thinking The Sims.
Yeah,
like you said, simulation. But I'm picturing little people going off to work, and it died while doing its job.
And that little sideboard there reminded me a lot of Orleans. That in there, you're using that sideboard to thin out your bag. Usually, after you've got a bunch of chits of a certain kind, you want to kind of get rid of them. But there, you're putting them out on. I think it's the council board is what they call it. So you're getting them out of your town, out of your worker pool, on putting them on the council, and then as here in Village, you're getting victory points for doing it, depending on how many you have there at the end of the game. In Orleans, there's a little bit of a race mechanism there that you're trying to fill up certain areas with certain particular types of workers. And if you're the person who places the last one to fill up an area, you get some kind of resource bonus or some kind of point bonus in the game. So it really reminded me of that part of it. But one of the other cool things with this is you have generations of your family, your workers. I'll call them workers because they're little meeple workers. But you got first generation. I think it's 4 first generation?
4. Yeah, it's 4 first generation, 3 second, and 2 and 2 for third and fourth.
2 and third and fourth. And so you have to kill them off in that order. So you're gonna do things in this game that are gonna move that time marker. And again, each time it passes a bridge or the bridge, there's one bridge on your board. So once it makes one complete lap around your board, you're having to take one of your level 1 workers, first generation workers, and kill them off and put them in a grave. And so that's interesting because you've got we kind of, when we first were talking about this, was me, you, Samantha, and Nick that played. So when I say we, that was the 4 of us. We were talking about, I lost my train of thought there. Oh, something about... it was kind of like Apiary. We talked a little bit about the generations there. But I'm sorry. So there are certain areas where you put workers out on the board and they stay on the board and they allow you to get discounts when you go to certain areas, or they like one of the areas where you're building resources or building chits. So you get plows and horses and oxen and stuff to till the fields and to get grain. but you can either pay cubes that you require acquire these resource cubes that you get on the board, which are pretty valuable because they allow you to do different things. They allow you to trade them in for different things. Sometimes you can actually put 3 of them in to do an extra action for free, or take an action that's not available. But as you're moving around and doing these things, you've got these workers that sometimes they can go visit a place and come back, or you can leave them out there and then make a discount if you keep visiting that place in the future. But again, you got to really pay attention to where you put your first generations, and then as they, one of the actions is you can grow the family, so you can take a second generation. Yeah, so what's the best way to say that? So grow your family. So you take another one of the next generation. But anyway, I guess the point I'm rambling on trying to get to is when you're killing these guys off, when you're killing these people off, your workers off, you've got to pay attention to what's on the board and what's on your board and the way you want to manipulate that. Because if I get down to I've already killed off 3 of my level 1s, and then my last level 1 has been working in the church, or they've been working over in the government section, and they're moving up those levels. If I get to that spot where I cross that bridge again for the 4th time, I'm going to have to kill that last worker off over there. So even though I've spent a bunch of time and resources on moving him up, and I didn't mention that some of the areas, or most of the areas where you leave them out, I guess some of the areas where you leave them out, the further they move along that board, the more points that they get you. So having to put them out there, you spend these resources to move them all the way to the end of the track, and then you don't get any points for that until the end of the game. Especially that was the church, and I think with the government, it works that way. If you have to kill that one off earlier on, that was a mistake that I made, is I put one out there, kind of moved him up, and then it was like, oh crap, at some point he's going to die. It was the church that I put him in. At some point he's going to die off. I'm going to have to get rid of him. So it's kind of a waste of those resources because Wayne kept beating me in points on the church. But anyway, it's an interesting mechanic, mixing those things up.
It's one of the I think this was one of the first really big hits for Marcus and Inca Brandt, the husband and wife team. They've done a million games since then.
Yeah, they do 2011 release. So this one's
older, and it's the Kenner Builders Yaris winner. So I think it might even be one of the first, because I think the Kenner has only been around for 15, 20 years.
That's got to be about right. Yeah.
So it's a really solid game, and like Nick was immediately thinking, like, as you're moving up the generations and you're powering up the workers, and he was like immediately thinking like, oh, that's somewhat apiary, and he's like, I think either he or you said it was interesting when you play these older worker placement games or Euro games, and you can kind of see the more modern games that pulled
the building blocks,
building pieces from it, about, oh, okay, well, you've got you pick a cube, take the action, place a worker, kind of like that. It has multiple sort of actions you can do in there. So it's been one of my favorites for a long time. So I got it when it first came out, so I've played it a bunch, and I hadn't played it probably 2 years or so, or more even. So
this game is full of cubes, so it's I'm loving the cubes everywhere, different colored cubes. It's really cool, and I enjoyed it. I'm definitely looking forward to playing again. I was a little slow on the pickup, which I tend to be in these medium to heavyweight Euros. Right. It usually takes me a play or two before I kind of start putting together a strategy. And I did what I typically do in these games, is I did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Right. Sampling it out.
Yep. Nick was hard in on the there's a board where you travel around, and I don't know if there's a name for that part of the board, but he's moving around,
exploring the world or something.
Sending your people out to explore the world and see different things. And so he really just went hard into that. The rest of us were playing the general mechanics, the base mechanic of getting grain, trading in grain for things. But Nick kind of ignored that until the end of the game, and he did well. I can't even remember off the top of my head. Did you end up squeaking out the win, or was it?
No, he beat me by like 6 or 7.
Okay,
and I mean, the traveling the world can be really. You can score a lot of points with it, especially if you get to say he got the cards from the tavern that synergize with it really well.
Yeah.
I had never really seen anyone score that many points in that part of the board. So it was interesting. He zoned in on pretty quickly, thanks to you for burying that one card.
Oh, yeah. Well, I buried it to try to get rid of it. Then right next to it was a card that allowed him to dig through a deck to grab a card. So I was like, I'm burying that so Nick never gets it. And then, oh, hey, look, there's a card that allows me to go grab that. So
you fell for my trap card.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
but it's a good game. It's really solid. I've enjoyed it a lot. It doesn't get old because you can do different strategies. Like I've gone heavy into the church, heavy into government, heavy into manufacturing and trading and travel. So you can kind of, bounce around, which is, again, another thing you see now, a lot of games where you have like kind of, it's not really like mini games, but like different areas where you can go to score and you can concentrate on those instead of trying to do it all. You can really concentrate on a few of them type interesting. So
Yeah, I really liked it. I'm looking forward to playing again, and this probably will creep on my list here when we update our top 20s. We're going to try to do that next week, I believe.
Yeah, let's try to coordinate with Mike Lorenzo.
Okay. Yep.
I know he's not with us at this moment. I mean, he's still with us. He's still alive.
Not with us.
Still alive.
With us. Okay.
He's just not on the show tonight.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can get him on next week and we can all update our boards together.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
So that was Village.
Village, yeah. And then after we finished Village and people were going to get some food, Rob and I busted out and played a game of Star Wars Unlimited.
Yep.
That's the new. They don't call it a CCG anymore. What do they call it now?
I don't know. It's not an LCG.
Trading card game.
TCG, I think. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, trading card game. Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, I kind of stumbled through a teach of that. Luckily, I had Nick there who's played several times. Nick had played. He taught me a week or two before, and so I knew Wayne was interested in just seeing it. So I was like, hey, we'll just pull this out real quick, and I'll run you through it. And how long did that game take? You think?
I think it was probably under 30 minutes. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I was gonna say about 30 minutes. Yeah,
about 30 minutes.
Okay.
It was
with
interesting.
teaching.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. Let's just say that I enjoyed the game. I'm not going to go run out and buy it.
Yeah.
It's because these kind of games you're either all in or not, right? You're either going to buy a bunch of it and really get into
Now, Carlos,
it.
he says he's just buying a couple starter decks.
I think there is a middle. I still have Magic decks, purposely built or bought, not
that's what
built,
I'm saying,
but bought Magic decks.
You buy like the starter deck and then that's it, right? If you're gonna do anything,
maybe
more than
5
that,
or 6 of them, right? And at the end when it's time to play, anybody can grab whatever deck they want,
Yeah.
and they're not built by a player; they're built by the company, right? They're the starter decks,
Yep.
so they're more
Banner deck
balanced.
type thing,
They're not
yeah.
as powerful,
Yep.
but it feels more like a little board game box that you can set up.
Yep. I thought that there were two, like when you think about like trading card games, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Lorcana, this, right? You got to think about like what's unique about it, right? It has all the same stuff, the trap and the shields and attacks. And I thought it was interesting that there was sort of you have the space area and you have the ground area and your base. The two things I liked about this probably more than others is you get 2 cards every round and you can immediately put 1 as a resource. So unlike other games where you can get mana starved, right? You're just not getting what you can, or even in Lorcana, you don't get mana starved, but you have to build up your ink, and you're only drawing 1 card, every round. This is you're automatically getting 2, and you can bury 1, right? So sort of getting the resources to play your cards is not a hard thing in this game, which is good. I also thought it was weird that you could immediately attack the base, like you don't have to like clear the deck.
Right, you don't have to beat all the ground units or all the air units.
All the air units. So that's what I mean. I beat Rob in this one, and I got a couple of big cards out, and then I kind of ignored his cards and just went for the base, right, and just kind of beat down the base a bit. I do wonder, I have to find out how many people have played this starter deck that has Luke and Vader in it, and very first impression from just one game, so I can't really speak too much on it. But I would wonder if the dark side wins more frequently with these starter decks, because it was easier for me to get resources. And if there's a card in the dark side deck where you put out this guy, he's like a cheap little like soldier, and the moment he dies, you can just put him as a resource. So you're playing a resource, and you put him out, and then you play another resource, and he dies, you can get another resource. I racked up resources quick. Which lets me bring out the heavy hitters. I was bringing out some big, I brought out the AT-AT, and I brought out like a Star Destroyer. But it was interesting. It's almost like the light side was kind of like a stalling, like
makes sense,
like Weenie White, where it's like just putting out a bunch of little guys and then putting shield on them. So
that's thematic, though. That's in the theme.
Yeah. And it's very thematic. It is. It's like I had to he put a shield on C-3PO and I'd have to hit C-3PO, and I hit him with 8 damage, but he doesn't take any because it just knocks the shield off. It's like, oh, come on, really?
Yeah.
So it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was, I wasn't blown away by it, but then I've played, Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and Lorcana and, probably 6 or 7 other, ones that I can't even think about right now. So it's not something crazy new. If you like Star Wars and you like battling card games, this is a fun game. It's definitely worth a shot.
Yeah, it was my second play. I played Luke both times. Nick creamed me with Darth the first time. You creamed me with Darth this time. So I know you talked to Nick afterwards, and he said he's played a fair amount of those two decks, and he says that he believes they're pretty balanced. I know the Rebel side is a little more, I don't know what word I was trying to think of just a minute ago, tinkery. I don't know. There's some things. There's like a card in there. I think it's a C-3PO that once I have him out, he's real squishy target, but he allows me to guess what the cost of the top card on my draw deck is, and so you guess 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I take a peek, and if it is, then it goes into my hand immediately. If not, I got to put it back. There's another card.
Guess wrong every time.
Yeah, I did. I was like 0 for 3. So, but there's another card.
That's very familiar to some of the X-wing characters back in the day.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like a Lando Calrissian, where you guess how many hits you're going to roll, and then if you do, you get an extra one.
Right.
Those are fun cards.
Yeah.
They're like little gambling moments.
Yeah, it's definitely gambling. There is another card in the deck that allows you to peek at your top card. So if you can get those two out together, I mean, you got a decent. I don't know how many cards are in that deck, 30 cards or something. But you were going to say, Wayne, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it fits with a lot of other Star Wars games. It's like they modified rules and took bits and pieces from other Star Wars games to make the cards. That made sense.
Yeah. Only thing I don't understand, and you might be able to fix or tell me where I'm wrong, where I think it was a little broken. And both times I played as Luke, as the Rebels, is so Luke's ability is you can before he goes into play. So there's I mentioned I kind of ran through it a couple weeks ago the mechanics, but you both have your leader that's on the board from the very beginning. But Luke and Dark just have a tappable ability. Darth, not Dark, both have a tappable
Dark
ability.
Helmet.
Dark Helmet. There you go, Lord Dark Helmet. They're not actually in the fight. They're not actually taking damage. They're not hitting, but they're just kind of in the middle of your board, and you can tap them to do a ability. At some point, once you have a certain number of resources, Luke is 6 and Darth is 7, in your resource pool, they immediately deploy, you flip them over, and now they have an attack and a defense. But I don't know, these first two, so Luke, his ability, you tap him, and he puts a shield on a character that you've played this round. Characters come in taps. You can't use them immediately, but you can put a character in play, and then if they don't get killed right away, you can tap Luke, put a shield on them. Shields, the next time they take damage, no matter how much damage it is, all that happens is the shield comes off. On Darth's side, his ability is you can tap him to do 1 damage to anybody, and then do 1 additional damage to the base. So I understand that it needs to be a waiting game, that I guess Luke has to wait until the opponent runs out of the ability to do actions, because actions in this game are 1, 1, 1, 1, back and forth, back and forth. You're not playing all of your cards, doing all your actions, and then letting the other person play their turn. It's I do an action, you do an action, and we go back and forth. First one to pass gets initiative, so they get to go first in the next round. But you can pass early, and the next person can go over and over. But anyway, what I'm getting to is I obviously am doing this timing thing wrong, because every time I tap Luke, put a shield on somebody, immediately the opponent taps Vader, takes the shield back off because it's 1 damage. I mean, that's the ideal way to do that, because if you did 10, all that happens is the shield goes away. So you just do that, plank the shield right back off, and then do a damage to my base. And so I don't know, am I seeing something wrong in that strategy, or is it purely just a waiting game that I've got to try?
It's kind of a waiting game. There was I think at least there was 1 or 2 times where I didn't have any actions available and you were able to get the shield out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that 1 time I think in the game, yep.
Yeah. But it is weird that again, I think each starter deck or each deck you get a different leader. So I think mixing up leaders would probably solve some of that.
Right. Just with the 2 ones that they started the game with, it just seems like they should have given Darth maybe a different ability, just so they weren't so directly one countering the other so directly. I don't know. It feels weird the 2 times I've played Luke. So
yeah.
Anyway, but I do like the game.
Yeah,
I haven't played a lot of these. I played Magic 1 or 2 times, so almost no Magic. I've never played Lorcana. I keep forgetting the name of it. What was the big one that you bought the decks that were all unique?
Summoner Wars.
No, you're thinking about
Keyforge.
Keyforge, that's it.
Yeah.
Keyforge. I played a decent amount of Keyforge. I do like this one as much as any one I've ever played, but again, I haven't done Lorcana. There's probably a couple other big ones. I played some Pokemon with the kids, but this one is. I agree with Wayne. We both said at the end, neither one of us is going to rush out and start pouring money into this, but I enjoyed it. I think it's as good as any of them I've played. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I think I would play it. I just don't know. any of these games now, I think it's kind of like beyond me. I'm not a huge fan of them anymore. I played a lot of Magic back in the day, like high school, whatever, college. But it's the only thing like what's crazy to me is, again, as I always have to check the hype, right? Like there's a hype about this game now, and it's selling out. Or it's like the best selling game,
breaking records for FFG.
And I'm like, I go, I don't. It's a good game. It's a really good game. I enjoyed it. I just don't know. Is it Star Wars? Like what's driving the hype on this? Like you understood Disney, the Lorcana thing. Like
but this is not the first Star Wars TCG. The last Star Wars TCG may have been an LCG through Fantasy Flight. Did not do well. Yeah, and they revamped it. I think one time they tried to get it back out, and it again did not do well. Now that one shared the art that was shared with the Star Wars Fantasy Flight role-playing game. The Star Wars Destiny shared the art with Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada. They all shared the art. What are your thoughts, gentlemen, as we wind down the last few minutes of our primer before we open up the phone lines? What are your thoughts on the art on this game? Because it is different.
Yeah, it was meh.
Like, I wasn't a big fan.
It was okay. Like, and that's what I think the difference. Like, you look at I have 4 or 5 decks of Lorcana that like I still need to get my kid to play, but the artwork in that is phenomenal. Like, it's just beautiful cards, and the foils are like insane, right? This was okay. Like, it was just, it again looked like not reused art, but it looks very, I don't know. It just didn't do anything like to me.
It's all new. It's all new art.
Yeah, like as I'm flipping through the cards, right? I can't even remember in the entire game I played stopping on a card going, oh wow, that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I mostly just looked at the card. Okay, that's Grand Moff Tarkin, and I read his ability. Okay, next card, read the ability. I didn't stop and look at the art on the card really at all.
Yeah, this one the art's not bad. It's okay. It's some of the cards are overly cartoony though, so some of them don't seem so cartoony. But we've mentioned both times I've played the Chewbacca. There's a Chewbacca card in there that just looks kind of ridiculous. He looks like a big walking hairball. Really, I mean, he's does not look like the Chewbacca I know. But so I don't know. I'm not a big fan. Some of it's okay, some of it's not bad, but some of them every now and then just a card will pop in there that's like, oh, that looks like out of place. That looks kind of really cartoony.
They definitely took risk on this one because I mean, they've done so many Star Wars games. I guess they're taking a risk by trying to be different, standing out.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't atrocious art. It wasn't like I think you can't compare to Lorcana, but like it's.
Do you remember when we first announced this, like the sneak peek trailer? I think Ron Fraser called in that day to talk about it, and we pulled it up and looked at the art cover. Like, is it a joke? Like that art looks horrible. Is this a joke?
I remember that we said like that can't be real, right?
If we went back to that episode, we did joke on the cover art that they teased back then.
Yeah. It's good to know they didn't improve the art between now and then.
They were like, "We're done. This is it. It's locked in. We've already paid all the artists for this crap." First set.
Done.
All right, folks. Well, those were a few games that we got started to prime this conversation. And now we'll go ahead and open up the phone lines for you to take over. 813-618-7099 is the phone number. As long as I actually open this thing up accurately.
Those phones. So we got a little bit in the chat there. We can jump into a couple comments about what we've been talking about.
We got... Amanda Neff said, "Have you played the Star Wars Deck Builder?" Which we talked about that before the show started.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Feels the same way about the Empire deck, that it's hard to beat the Empire. I played the Star Wars Deck Builder a couple of times now, and it's okay. It's
yeah, I like it.
I like it. Like, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to be negative, right? I think this game, they're both good games. I enjoy them, but like they didn't wow me, right? But it's hard to do that nowadays.
We both played the Star Wars Deck Builder.
Yep.
Our sons have each played it with each other.
Against each other, yeah.
I'm with Wayne on the feeling of it didn't wow me, but it is a solid deck builder with a Star Wars theme, which makes me, well, everything stays in my collection, let's be honest. But it's not going to be something that leaves the collection anytime soon. It'll be a part of the rotation because it's a good Star Wars deck builder.
Yeah.
Not a great one, but good.
But I think the sad thing is there's not going to be support for it. right? I don't think there's no expansion coming.
That's when it first came out. There's room in that box, and so the plan definitely had to have been that they were looking at expansions at some point, but they haven't been forthcoming. We haven't heard anything about them. So I don't know. There was when it first came out, there was a decent amount of buzz. The game is a little swingy to me, which I guess these always are. I've had games that have been pretty short, pretty quick, and then I've had games that have drug on longer than I'd like. And so
The rebels are doing their job by staying around a lot longer than they should.
yeah, healing. So there's some heal cards in there. If you can get a couple of those in your deck, you can really draw this game out. I had one game where both sides had some take damage off the base, take damage off a ship, and those games. I think I had a game of this that went almost an hour for one game, and you're supposed to play 2 out of 3. And so yeah, it's I definitely have some that have stayed longer than they're welcome. But
I think that tends to have to do with the market.
yeah,
So I will recommend that you use the optional rule in the back of the book for the buy off. I can't remember what they call it, but I think it's buying off cards in the market.
bounties or something. Or
Instead of doing a bounty where you destroy the opponent's card, you're allowed to pay off the value of the card, whatever it costs to buy it, and instead of adding it to your deck, you move it to the discard pile. So it's paying them off a bribe, in a sense, for those neutral cards, right? Because neutral cards don't have a bounty for either side, but they can start clogging up the middle row. So the way to get rid of them is by paying them off.
That tends to be that's sort of my issue with that game too. Is like if you get a really good draw from one side or the other on that initial row.
If he gets
happen.
Dark Helmet before I can get Luke out, I'm skater out of luck.
Yeah.
So.
But they're expensive to buy. And the game I most closely have to relate this to, compare this to, is Star Realms, which was a big
intentional,
one.
I think.
Yeah, and I think I like this better. This added a few more mechanics that the light side, dark side push in this is kind of fun. If you get into that, I've had games where that's been fairly irrelevant, but there are cards that can rely on whether you've got the Force on your side and or the Force, I should say, not the light side, dark, but yeah, moving that Force marker back and forth. And so some games it doesn't matter really at all, and some games you can really get into that part, which is cool. But I think I like this better than Star Realms. It's been a little while since I played, but anyway.
We got Aaron Clark saying, "I'm surprised at the number of CCG TCG games that miss on art." Yeah, I mean it's
well,
there's a lot of them. There's a lot of CCG TCG games out there.
Yeah, and a lot of them miss on the art. You basically Lorcana is the one that hit the most probably in the last 5 or 10 years even, and then Arkham they reuse their art, so it's all the same kind of drawings between all their games, right? Like what's the guy with the dog or whatever from his Mansions of Madness, his little picture's the same, so you don't have to change much there. But have you
brought up a good comment here though before we move off the Star Wars topic. She says, I wish it was in the Star Wars universe, but not with those key characters, and yes, I know. Like, I get that feeling, and I guess it's because we've played so many Star Wars games, and they're kind of like repeating the canon.
Yeah.
Right? It's like reusing, okay, it's Luke and Leia again. Oh, look, it's a new game. Luke and Leia again. And like, let's bring in some of the, almost like Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth, Journeys in Middle-earth. Those characters or even new characters that are created that aren't a part of the canon and their side stories. Like I want the Rogue One story, like how they got the Death Star plans.
Well, I mentioned a couple weeks ago that they announced they're going into Mandalorian, so they are there's tons of stuff for them to go into here. So we'll see it over time.
I think you're even not even in the gamosphere for Star Wars. I think Star Wars in general, you're going to see over the next couple of years them getting away from the original canon, and you're going to see Old Republic and 1,000 years before the Sith, and future other galaxies and stuff. So
keep milking that cow. Yeah.
Blue milk.
Have you? So I don't know if did either of the two of you look into that Kickstarter for the card game that Mike posted in the Discord, and just the crazy scam nature of it?
Oh no, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, I mean that's that whole that every time I don't know they talk about it a lot on what's the crowd surfing on Dice Tower. Every time a big one of those comes up where they pull up and it's making millions of dollars on one of these new CCGs, Tom always says this has got to be some kind of money laundering scheme. And so I know that came up in our chat in the Discord that it just doesn't seem right that these off the wall things you've never heard, no IP, mediocre art, and they're all of a sudden they're $2, $3, $4 million for these CCGs.
I really think it's a Beanie Baby thing.
Yeah.
I think it's.
Trying to hit the next big
I think
thing.
there is a subset of the gaming community that's all about TCGs and CCGs, trying to find that next Richard Garfield hit, and they want in on that first. They want to be able to sell that first series of cards for bajillions of dollars. That's my belief. I can't.
I think some of that's that. I think
I
everyone.
did take my fraud awareness courses recently,
Yes,
and
you're all on that.
money laundering. It does actually kind of make sense.
Yeah.
Straight
It
up
does.
money laundering could
Here's
be
this
the
game.
answer.
Here's what's crazy about it, and this is what they pointed out last night on Lance Meister's show, the Alaboom. It's raised $1.3 million, right? But only 2,000 backers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Somebody
that's-
put in $500,000.
It's 1,500 drug dealers.
There you go. Something doesn't add up, right?
No,
Yeah.
you look at there's a pledge level where it's like $8,000. Yeah, Spectrum, right? $4,300, and there's 28 people that backed it. So 28 people put in $4,300, right? I mean, that's
28
there's-
Cambodian drug lords.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Something's not
85,
right.
8250, $8,000
Supernova.
backing. And there's
How many cards do you get in the Supernova?
56 people. have
2,800
backed it.
foils.
Yeah.
1,440 packs of cards.
14,400 cards. That's crazy.
Trees are crying.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Way
I
to
mean,
blow that up.
Yeah, blow it up a little bit bigger here, but yeah, let's go. Yeah, so $900,
Prismatic,
$4,000.
Spectrum.
Here's 8,000, all this Kickstarter, 3 starter decks, all this promo. 56 people have backed that. See, that to me, like, I don't know. That's crazy.
Can you look at the backers and their history?
No, that you can't get into.
Yeah, it'd be private. I would.
You just see their
imagine.
little pictures?
Yeah, or you see like a few of them, yeah. But
On
yeah,
14,000 cards, I can't kind of put my mind on that. How many? Would that be like
How
a
many
truckload
cards
of cards?
in
Would that be
Terraforming Mars?
Yeah, I mean,
Is it 750?
so 14,000. So what's that? 200 times?
Go,
or 20 times?
Gadget,
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah, get your calculator there. I mean, so does that take a small truck, a small U-Haul to come deliver this? My Kickstarter to me is that what I'm thinking here?
So these 56 backers account for $462,000 of the $1.3 million that this has.
There are only 215 project cards in a deck of Terraforming Mars. Can you imagine
14,000.
14,000 cards?
That's
Yeah, it's a lot,
times,
man. That's a lot.
That's
Yes, I mean,
insanity.
Now, granted, supposedly there is a guy, like if you go through this, one of the people was a Magic the Gathering, like an OG Magic the Gathering person, right? But and the other thing too is like this is all AI art, supposedly, like it's all AI.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not necessarily adverse to AI stuff, but that's also crazy that like what was suggested last night on a couple of shows I was watching was that there's a number of these backers that backed at that $8,000 level, and then after the Kickstarter's done, they're gonna turn around and hand them their $8,000 back, minus the 10% or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like friends and family, like chipping in to make it, and that initial seeding of 3 or 4 people, putting in the $8,000 starts
Caused
the
a
ball
landslide.
Yeah, starts the landslide.
This is going to be the next Beanie Baby, and I'm going to make it rich.
Gotta get it on it. So yeah, that's funded in 26 seconds. Really?
That's because you had the people lined up already.
You had the people lined up.
$8,000 each. Yeah.
$8,000 each. Yeah. It's
He
like,
had 26 computers lined up, and he said, "Start the project. Buy."
yeah, there's just something fishy about this. Like you got
Allegedly,
some-
I'll say that
like,
allegedly.
Yeah,
It's all-
we don't know. Yeah.
we have no idea.
just a little weird that like, I mean, either that or there's just some people that just speculate like, you
Yeah.
know, what's $8,000 to me? I have it. If I
Hey, listen, people were all in that NFTs
yeah.
and
They all lost their
Bitcoin,
shirts on 'em.
heavy on the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How's that working out for them?
Didn't it just get halved?
Did it really?
Now they're selling bits of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Half a
it's-
Bitcoin, Heffanies.
Yeah, I just thought that was weird that like when you really dig into it, because I also know I like just tangentially I knew someone that had done a Kickstarter for a board game they were creating, right? And like they got their family to all chip in $1,000 and So, it met its funding goal. Yeah, but like you only had 5 backers, so you just multiply that, out, and you kind of see what people were doing. But
last week we didn't have a call-in show because Carlos was a little under the weather last week, but this is a call-in show this week, folks.
Yeah?
813-618-7099. Call, talk to us. What have you been doing? What have you been playing? What have you been hearing? If not, Carlos is just going to pull this thing out and start reading news articles. That's what's going to happen.
Holding here in my formerly Oreo-stained fingers. I got an article that Wayne posted up, what the Asmodee debt deal means for the board game industry. It's a wargamer.com article written by Timothy Linward. Some of the highlights in the article, it talks about how in the last article, which I didn't get to talk about because I missed the show, how Asmodee had been saddled with $958 million of debt before the separation or the segregation of the 3 companies that Embracer Group once was, turning into 3 separate companies. But Wargamer talked to Lee Wild, head of equity strategy at UK-based investment platform Interactive Investor, to get a better understanding of what it means for the board gaming industry. So this article really went in depth. It was a really good article written about the finance piece and what the impact will be. Some of the important pieces are that the board game, TCG, RPG, and miniature game market, and any disruption to the firm could have far-reaching consequences to Asmodee itself. That the Embracer Group spent $3 billion acquiring Asmodee back in March of 2022. That really wasn't that long ago.
Oh.
No.
You see, so that they spent $3 billion picking them up. 2 years later, they're setting them loose on their own again. But this is after they've taken out loans on Asmodee on their assets, which is weird because this article, Wayne, talked about what their assets mean, right? It's not real stuff. It's like ideas and IP and
Correct. It's the revenue generated from their current assets,
right?
Projected, they were looking at historical revenue projecting over a couple year period.
What's crazy to me is it wasn't 2-3 weeks ago that I had read an article and shared with y'all about how the CEO of Embracer Group called Asmodee the gem in their portfolio.
Right, because
now I'm thinking of him like Smog, like this is my moneymaker right here, and then he just peddles it out for loans.
Yeah.
Well, it was the gem because he was able to saddle $1 billion in debt on him and walk away from it. I mean, it's pretty sort.
I haven't read this article. I saw some articles saying that this whole thing means absolutely nothing. I kind of talked about it before, that companies move money around, and one of the things I was just hearing, or was I actually heard somebody talking about it. Can't remember where it was, but that there's a strategy. Actually, it was on Dice Tower. Tom was talking about it. That he's read and heard that there's a strategy where when you move some of this debt from one entity to another, you have a lower you have time to pay it back at a lower interest rate before it goes up. And so
18 months is what this article says.
Okay. So you have time to move money around, and so in 18 months they could just move that debt off of them and move it to somebody else and start that 18-month clock again. And so it's just a game that businesses play.
Problem is Embracer has now let Asmodee loose. So they're not a part of the Embracer Group anymore to move it around. That's the part that stunned me, is hey, we have a corporation with a bunch of companies, subsidiaries. Let's move some debt around, and Asmodee, let's just put it all with you. Oh, by the way, now you're on your own. Yeah. Right?
Are they on their own? That's not what I had heard.
They're being listed on the stock exchanges
on their own.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's still, the Embracer Group probably still owns a controlling interest in Asmodee, but it's going to be on its own. But I mean, you are right, Rob. I mean, what's going to happen is, Asmodee is paying less interest on this debt now that it's been saddled to them, and the hope would be in the next 18 months they're able to show increased profit or increased ability to generate revenue to pay that debt, and then they can go to another creditor and pay it off, and they'll play that shell game. But the scary thing is when you read into a company, their annual profit, and they're how many years this debt would take them to pay off based on current annual profit, and it's like nearly 4 years, which is twice as long as 18
They're going to
months.
have to continue to refinance,
and it could potentially hurt their ability to grow, right? Because like usually when you make profit, you can do one or two ththings with it. You can reinvest it in your company to grow it, buy new
give
product.
it back to the shareholders.
Yeah, give it back to the shareholders. You can buy new companies like Embracer was doing, or you can pay off the interest on your debt or pay off your debt. So like they're gonna have to balance their own growth while still trying to pay off this debt. So that's what I worry about is like they need to increase profit. And how does that work? I know I said it last week is if there's only a few ways to increase profit: market differently, make your product cheaper, or bring it to different markets. So we'll have to see what they do.
Yeah, it says here in the 2022 to 2023 financial report, the actual amount of free cash that Asmodee generated was actually $180 million, is what it was saying.
Right.
So it's got the ability to pay that, but you have to decide where to put it.
Or sell off some of the assets if you have to.
And that's what it talked about. One way to get rid of this debt is to sell off
some of the assets.
Split them off, when you talk about assets, we're talking about the IPs that they own, the games that they own.
Yeah.
The Catan is one of the titles in their group, right? What, they sell off Catan?
Or do they sell off some of their distribution companies, right? Because don't forget, like Asmodee is more. They have they acquired everything under the sun the last 5 or 6 years. Not just game companies, they acquired distributors and I don't think manufacturing, but mostly distributors and third-party sellers. And they sold off. Didn't Asmodee own Miniature Market and they sold it off?
Yes. It was a big dollar sale.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, they just recently picked it up and then turned around and flipped it.
Yep.
Now the thing is Rob, you touched on this a little earlier when we talked about the Star Wars deck building game, right? Your hopes of an expansion. When it's time to produce like ideas for where to make money.
Yeah.
I don't think Asmodee is going to be putting money into development of an expansion for Star Wars deck building game.
Yeah, you don't want to take those risks. I mean, anything that's risky, they're going to shy away from. So that's one place that it could hurt them in the
hurt us.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about us
in the creativity.
It's about me.
Yeah, in the coming up with new ideas, new IPs. They're going to stick to the moneymakers. They're going to stick to what they know. They're going to keep milking
Star Wars Unlimited.
Yeah,
they're going to milk that blue cow all day.
All day.
But the article does end with some notes from Lars Winkfors, the CEO of Embracer Group, the guy who said that Asmodee was the jewel. I mean, thinking back to that quote now, like I see it so differently.
Yeah,
like
what he was talking about at that time. He wasn't talking about
money.
I'm going to come with new stuff.
I thought he was like praising the gaming industry. Anyway, the article says Embracer CEO Lars Winkfors, who owns 20% of the capital and 40% of the votes in Embracer, states in another press release, "I intend to remain a long-term, active, committed, and supportive owner of all three entities," suggesting he's willing to put his own money on the line. So although he initiated the separation of the three companies, it sounds like he's putting his money where his mouth is and going to continue to invest in Asmodee. So overall, we should be okay.
It's just big business doing what big business does. They're paying lower interest rates. They're avoiding tax hits on things. They're just moving stuff around. Yeah.
Yeah. And eventually they'll charge us more for games because they say
they can do it now. Yeah, they can say, "Oh, we got to pay off all this debt. Now we can charge a little more." So that's I've heard that said. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, what else? What else have y'all got? Do y'all play any other games at Game Day that you wanted to highlight?
We played a nice game of Welcome 2. I mentioned that. We ended off the night with, I think it was, an 8-player game of Welcome 2. We taught a new couple that were new gamers that were friends of Nick's and actually, I guess, friends of mine.
8 or 9.
I didn't realize it.
8 or 9 folks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, so we had a nice, we just played the base game. We taught that to them and had a good time. That was fun. I consider myself pretty good at Welcome 2. I think Nick does as well, and we got our butts kicked. We finished like the 2 of the lowest scores out of the was it you say 8 or 9 people? No?
Yeah, I think it was 9.
9 people.
9 folks. Yeah, it was good.
That was fun. I hadn't played Welcome 2 in too long. I guess it had been probably about a year. But,
even what I like about that is there were the couple they were kind of not gamers. They had played some games. They were learning a lot of light games that day. Mm-hmm. We started teaching the game. They're like, "Oh, this is a very easy game," and like Nick and Rob are explaining it, and you can kind of see that like glazed,
eyes glazed over. Yeah,
it's like what?
and
we're like, you know what? This is actually a little bit more complicated to explain than you think, but they did really well. Like they kicked butt. They were the top,
Yeah,
They were the top 4 or 5 people.
two of the top 3 or 2 or 3 people. Mhm.
Yeah, this one continues to be one that Melissa asked to play. This is one that she, on first play, really enjoyed. And I think it is, although it is a little weird to explain and then kind of get it, but once you get it, I think it's such a chill game.
I guess I hadn't taught it in a while, but the thing is that each area or each of the cards does something a little different. So they were having trouble grasping, okay, well, when I do this, I mark a park at the end of the row, but then when I do this, I circle a pole at the place where I put the number.
Did you guys have a playmat?
No playmats.
The playmat really does help because it has like a picture of the rulebook effectively with each.
It has that player aid, but it's blown up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's blown up, and it's right there where the cards are. So
Yeah.
the cards that you're playing are right there, and right around it are all the actions.
Right.
That I think seems to help with the
Yeah.
teach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lucky last two draws. I was I can't remember if I ever have filled in every
house.
house on the entire thing without using I think I used one of the BIS and I filled the entire card in, and I was like, I needed one like flip. I'm like, I need a 7 whatever it is. Boom. I'm like, yes.
Yes, and I flipped it for you.
Yeah.
I was flipping the cards. He was asking for it, but
Yeah.
I filled everything in a few times, and yeah, you did use one biz because I didn't use any, and you were one ahead of me. I had one house left, and I think somebody else there had one house left. So.
Anybody cul-de-sac?
We didn't do cul-de-sac. We explained it, but then we were like, let's not play with that. So that's optional. It's got the asterisk next to it.
Yeah. Green team wins, canvas, great split. Yeah. I brought
Yep.
great split. And yeah, it was good. And then after you left, we played a game of Takanoko.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, how'd that go?
Oh yeah,
That's the bamboo one?
yeah,
the
the
pandas?
panda, the little panda one. I like that. I love that game. That's just very chill, like
Yep.
little game. You're building the stuff. I didn't do so well, but I love that game.
You Nick, and Joe played that?
and
Was there a fourth?
Rachel. And Rachel.
Oh, Rachel, that's right. Rachel was still there. Yep.
Yep. So we played that, and then that was it for the night. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed that. I hadn't played that one in a while either. I was like, oh, cool. It's good to get that game out. I got to get
Nice.
that Tokaido to the table too. Soon.
No, Mando was dying to play Ready, Set, Bet, but I don't think they got a game of that together. I don't think they played.
No, we'll have to get it. We'll get it going.
Yeah, we need to get a big game of that, like 10 people or
I
something.
capsuled all my stuff.
Nice.
So I finally got it all
Ooh, there we
capsuled.
go. You didn't do the Kickstarter for the fancy version?
I did not. I thought about it, hemmed and hawed about it. I'm hoping that those mats will be available in retail or in a second print run. I don't feel like I need to rebuy the whole game.
Right. That's the problem. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. The only other game I actually, the last 2 days I've played Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition.
I was just staring at mine over there like I want to play more.
That game is a ridiculously hard solo.
Yes.
Oh, is it
Like,
really?
Jesus. Like you
I'm gonna try
get,
to
20, you get 25 turns to terraform the entire thing. I'm like, how? you got to bring the oxygen all the way up. You got to bring the temperature all the way up. You got to flip all the lakes in 25 turns. I'm like,
I don't think I've ever won that solo,
oh, I haven't yet either.
but it does make you distill down to like just the basics. Like every card, everything you do has to be about terraforming. It doesn't allow for the Carlos and Rob style gaming where, Carlos and Rob like to build engines and watch them run for a while and then finally decide at one point, okay, now it's time to score for points, right? It doesn't allow for that. You have to, like Wayne said, you have to focus on just the terraforming. That's it.
And that's tough because, like I said, you only have 25 turns basically, and you need at least 10 or so to like ramp up any kind of production of heat or depending on what cards you get. Like I haven't been able to like. You got to pivot really quickly from building your engine to flipping the heat and oxygen up and flipping over the lakes. And if you just don't get the cards for it, like they even say in there, like you can play it solo to learn, but realize it's really hard. So the rule book literally tells you the solo game is like nigh impossible. I would probably need at least 40 turns to do it. And they only give you 25.
It does make you have to use the mechanism of getting rid of cards for money so that you can use that money to do terraforming stuff.
Yep.
Like in Terraforming Mars, I'm so reluctant. Original,
That's
like
last resort.
OG,
Yeah.
I'm so reluctant to get rid of any cards in my hand. Like all these projects have potential, I can work them. In Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, especially in the solo game, I'm like, well, I got to burn 5 of these so I can get a few more bucks so that I can turn that greenery.
And they like in regular Terraforming Mars, you get 1 mega credit for selling a card. In Ares Expedition, you get 3. So it's a lot more, and you can only have 10 cards. So if you can't sit there with 20 cards in your hand at the end of a round, 5 rounds, whatever, you got to go back down to 10. So yeah, you do sell a lot more cards.
Now, playing the solo game got me thinking about their expansion, the co-op expansion. And I have it on my wish list, on my Amazon wish list, and I put it in the cart, took it out of the cart, put it in the cart, took it out of the cart, because it's got the co-op system in there. I'm reluctant to pull the trigger on that purchase because how hard it is to play solo. I'm worried that will transfer over into the co-op game. What are your thoughts, Wayne?
There's a co-op version in the base game.
Yes, but in the Crisis, I think it's called Crisis and Foundations or something. There's 2 separate expansions that provide 2 different cooperative ways to play.
Yeah,
and they have different events that occur while you're playing, so it's a little more narrative. It's not just the solo game of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition where you're just trying to terraform the planet. You're trying to beat like certain events. You're trying to have enough of X resources to beat X event. So it's got a little more narrative to it, which I think fixes the issues with this solo game being so hard. But has anybody played it? Okay, so here's my man James Oda. James, call in. Jim, call in. Co-op is totally different than solo. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is the co-op different enough that I'm not going to get my butt handed to me every time?
And I wonder if in the expansions there's things that make the solo. I mean, because solo. He said solo. I said co-op is working to keep Mars, not Mats, but Mars terraformed. Interesting. So you start with a terraformed, and then you're fighting against it. Interesting. I probably played the solo game 5 or 6 times. Twice in the last 2 days, and then I remember maybe like 6 months ago I did like 3 or 4 times. I haven't come close. I'll be honest. Like I don't, I'm not the best at terraforming Mars anyway, but I've maybe gotten halfway to terraforming everything.
I'm going to try to find my record. I remember the first time that I played it solo like that was when my daughter was born, because that was the one game I brought with me to the hospital, because it can fit on a very small board.
Yeah. But Rob, you've played Ares Expedition?
I've only played once or twice. Actually, I played twice. I played once here with Carlos, and then I played once. I can't remember against who or with who at Armada. I'm okay on it. We've had this discussion a lot in the past. My Terraforming Mars, I like to be large and epic and 3 hours long. And so, yeah, that's the way I like it. Actually, I was just talking to Carlos before. Me and my kids started a game of Terraforming Mars 2 nights ago. We decided at midnight we wanted to play, and so we played from midnight to 1:30. I told them before they hadn't played in years, and I told them, I was like, this is going to be a 3-hour game. And they're like, yeah, we're good with it. So about 1:30, we finally called it, went to bed, and then it's still set up on the table. So we were hoping in the next couple of nights to get back to it. So
I lied.
Maybe tonight.
I have 1 win.
Oh, 1 win?
One win. Solo.
How many plays?
5 plays.
Okay.
5 solo plays, 1 win that I recorded.
20%?
I probably didn't record a lot of the losses.
Probably not.
But you go, I mean, like the 25 turns, like, man.
July 25th, 2022.
Okay.
I beat the game.
Nice. I mean, I think I ran it tonight and in like a half hour. Like you can go quick with the solo games. You can really crank them out. But I was nowhere close. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna win this one. But I pulled it out off the shelf because actually I've played a couple of TMs on BGA lately, and I figured that Ares Expedition might help me just get used to the tags and the how the cards work. So,
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Gentlemen, it's Mr. Odak.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Hey, Jim. Glad you're in the comments. Even more glad that you're on the line. Talk to us.
Well, I've only played the co-op of the Ares Expedition once, but it is totally different than the solo. You draw, it's been a while, but you draw something like an event, and you start out with it completely terraformed, everything to the top, and then the events knock it down, and during each round you got to build it back up, or you get a penalty that knocks it down even more. And if you get to a certain level, you lose the game.
Okay.
I kind of like that.
Oxygen down below. Yeah.
Because it really that drives your objective, right? So the objective will be different each round based on the event that happened. You know, you might be focusing on greenery one round, and then another round focusing on getting the temperature back up.
Yeah, it depends what event. There's like an event that gets drawn. I forget what it's called, but yeah.
Nice. And that's the one from.
I thought it was like. Good.
So I was going to say, that's the co-op game from one of the expansions?
Yeah, the expansion that came out last year.
Okay.
All those 3-letter words, I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like I thought it was like playing it in reverse.
That is pretty cool, though.
Yeah, definitely flips the whole thing on its head. Instead of going one way, building, you're stopping it from being torn down. So that's cool.
They got Discovery, Foundations, and then so there's Discovery and Foundations.
And Crisis.
I think are the two. Crisis. There's one. Do you recall which one?
Crisis was a co-op.
Crisis was a co-op.
Crisis was a co-op. I think Foundations was the extra 2 players.
I don't know about that. I don't need all that.
6, no. This one goes to 6.
That's okay.
No.
And then the last one added stuff to the regular game, like the alternate cards that you could upgrade to, and just more cards.
Now, seems to be 2 very different camps. Original OG Terraforming Mars, and then folks who enjoy Ares Expedition. Very few folks who jump into both. Where do you find yourself, Jim?
I like them both. I mean, the classic Terraforming Mars is, like Rob said, that's the big, crunchy 3-hour game. You know, a little bit of downtime between turns, but, you know, there's a lot of things you can think about between turns. Whereas the Ares Expedition, I think, is much quicker and less downtime because you're always doing stuff. You know, even if it's not your turn, you're still able to do stuff. So that's more if you want, you know, keep everybody's attention and not to get distracted. I like them both. I'd play them both. I don't think either of them get played enough.
I agree.
I've even tried the Terraforming Mars dice game, which isn't horrible.
You seem to be in the minority on that one. I've heard a lot of bad stuff.
He said it isn't horrible. He didn't say it was good.
Oh, did he? Yeah,
he said it wasn't horrible.
I've heard a lot of people say it was horrible.
It's kind of a nice fix. Like if you want something different with the whole Terraforming Mars, but like, you know, I'd rather play the other 2 instead.
Okay. Yeah.
I kind of like. I'm gonna have to look into this because I'm kind of interested because the
Okay, you buy it, I play your copy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I want that. Making a co-op would be good because that's something I could get to the table with my wife because we like to play co-op games together. So that's an interesting flip to that, you know. And I really like the idea of keeping it there. You're like, hey, we spent all this time and effort terraforming it, and now, you know, it reminds me. I've been watching the For All Mankind, where, like, you know, they're terraforming the Mars, they're terraforming the moon, and just every season, like, something catastrophic happens that they have to react to, right? So that's kind of like a cool concept. I like that.
Yeah.
I guess kind of like the 3-body problem, where you're trying to figure out how to prevent the planet from going to crap.
Yeah. You don't score points, but you still have the TR, but you could spend the TR to fix things.
How do you win?
I think you get to a certain number of rounds without
you
know, unterraforming.
Without it all falling apart. Going into the crapper. Cool. Well, speaking of making games co-op, I'm going to change the title here slightly, if you don't mind, Jim, unless you had something else you wanted to mention on Ares.
No.
So I just watched Man vs. Meeple's playthrough of the Fallout game. I forget, there's a couple Fallout games out there, but
I have a whole article that I was going to go through about all different Fallout games.
Am I ruining your
No. I want to hear what.
So I watched their playthrough. I watched all. It was about an hour and 15 minutes, and I am the original game when it came out. It was competitive only.
FFG one.
Yes, I believe it was the FFG. Yep, the big tiles, and you're discovering things, and I heard it was horrible. Yeah, very luck based. points were based on a 1, 2, 3, or maybe 4-point system. So you could draw an objective card and it could be worth 1, and you could be all the way across the board and have to do all this junk to get it. And somebody else could draw a 4-pointer and be right next to where they want to be and kill the thing and get 4 points. And it was like a race to 8 points or 10 points. I never played it, but it was critically panned when it came out a few years ago. And then they, I say a few years ago, but just a few years ago, they actually came out with a expansion that made it co-op, and everybody's opinion started changing as people played it. A lot of people had given up on it because the original competitive version was so bad that all the press and all the pub about it was so bad that people just didn't want to play it again. But there's now a second expansion that came out that adds more content, and of course, with the TV show right now, everything that has Fallout on it is just blowing up. They're selling millions of copies of everything. But I watched this Man vs. Meeple playthrough, and I am impressed. And both of the guys on Man vs. Meeple were like, you know what? We had absolutely zero interest in the original game, but this co-op is excellent. This co-op version makes this game where everybody should want to play this game. And I watched them play, like I said, and I am definitely now, it's on my list of games that I need to pick up. So I understand it's hard to get right now. As with everything right now, they're selling out of anything that has Fallout printed on it. But I gotta get my hands on a copy of this.
Well, you know they're probably going to come out with like a big box with like the original game and all the expansions or something.
Well, it's Fantasy Flight games. They don't tend to do big boxes.
Yeah.
They tend to stick to their base box and buy your expansions.
For everything. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll re-release it, I guess.
Have you ever played the Fallout game, Jim?
The video game and not the board game, no.
Yeah, I played almost all the video games. I haven't played the last couple, but
yeah, the board game is Fallout the Board Game by Fantasy Flight Games. I think it's $65 on Amazon right now.
Okay.
And then the expansion that Rob is talking about, these are all on my wish list.
Yep. I see they're on your list there. Yep.
Fallout the Board Game Atomic Bonds. That's the cooperative expansion. That's only $17 to add that cooperative expansion. But you're looking at what, $90 after taxes and everything?
I would have said no way, but after I watched that playthrough, I'm thinking, yes, please.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm always very wary because video games that get ported into a board game, I'm just thinking, is it just a money grab?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm always been reluctant to jump into those.
Yeah, their playthrough they ran into. I haven't watched all the show yet. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. So
What?
I gotta get it done.
I've watched the whole series twice now.
I know you mentioned that.
I haven't watched a single episode yet.
I gotta watch. I gotta get it done. But
what's it on?
It's on
Amazon
or Amazon Prime. Yeah, Amazon Prime. But they were playing through today, and they were talking about they were flipping. There's discovery in this. You flip tiles as you go, and they were flipping tiles that were actually places from the show, and they were like, "Oh, there's the."
And it's all places from the original game
right.
too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all that crossover. So they were all excited. So yeah, I want to get a piece of that. Yep.
Damn it, Robert.
Yeah. Buy now. I was interested in it, but if you want to pick it up, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna say no. Yeah.
So Jim, I saw here you said you just finished Nucleum with Australia. Now I haven't played Nucleum yet, but I've heard that so the skinny is Nucleum is brass meets barrage, but what does the Australia expansion do for it?
Australia adds boats, coal mines, and a different map. Consensus was after we played it opens the game up more. Like the original game is really tight in the beginning, right? You really got to fight to get an engine going. It's a lot like brass, right? You got to have a big plan and you got to make it work. Australia loosens it up a little bit. I think it makes it a little more easy to
forgiving
modify your plan. So yeah, a little more forgiving.
Okay.
So I've read that some people don't like it, and that's probably why. I think some people like that tightness. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It is looser, a little more open.
Yeah, Nuclear One's is one I got to play. I know we're making a list of. You just put a couple games on the list in the Discord channel that we want to. I got to play Underwater Cities. You're going to teach me that. And what was the other one we mentioned today, Jim? I forget. Maracaibo, that's right. I've played that now. I think I'm on my 3rd play of that on BGA, and now I'm dying to play it in person just so I can make sure I can manipulate all the pieces.
Not only that, BGA only does the 3 standard stories, the non-interactive stories. There's a whole deck of like stuff that you can go through that changes the game, and
that's
it's actually pretty interesting. I never got into it until I picked up this copy from Daryl.
The main reason I want to play it is because there's a story deck in there that you can play. I guess I don't know if I guess it is a campaign, but it's a story deck. You play games and you go through this deck, and it changes up some of the things in the game from game to game. And I really want to do that, and I want to have my kids play with me, but I need to. I'm sure you guys have done this. You play it on BGA. You can play it 8, 9, 10 times on BGA, and the first time you see it on the table, you're like,
I don't know how to play this.
I have no clue how this game plays.
I was going to say, Jim has been trying to get me to play Maracaibo with him for a while, and I want to definitely play. I played
it's good.
One or two games on BGA, and I kind of like it, but I'm totally lost. Like I'm just clicking stuff, and I'm like, I need to teach. It definitely is a game that I'm enjoying playing it, but I need to teach. So yeah, I'm down for that. That's definitely going to be either a Dice Tower or East, or if we have a game day between now and then.
Yeah, we need to do a game day,
or even we could probably get a teach, like a Discord teach on BGA one night where we just play live, on BGA, just so to get an idea of how to play, so that we can do it better.
Yeah.
When we
need to do a Euros game day, because again, Nucleum, you and I are both interested in. Wayne, I'm not going to leave Carlos out, but I know he's not the big Euro gamer. But we need to do Nucleum. I'm dying for years to play Underwater Cities, yeah, and then Maracaibo is another medium weight.
Who's bringing the buckets?
Oh, well, there you go.
For your brains when you're all done.
No, I wasn't buckets. I was talking about. I was talking about buckets of beverages.
No, I'm thinking your brains are going to have to get slopped off the floor.
I'm all for it.
Nucleum is supposedly really pretty heavy. Like they say it's really crunchy. Like I love brass, and they're saying like it's brass meets barrage, and I thought barrage and brass were both. Pretty
barrage is good.
Games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm all for it though.
You gotta have a plan, and you can't modify it or change it very much. You either got to go with it or whatever. When you're floating in the water.
I don't know.
Either tread water or go with it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Looks like Nick Oben's in for the live BGA teach. So, my kid's soccer season's done, so
we can do that
the night, and we can do it.
Okay.
Good times. All right, Jim, you got any parting words, parting advice for us? Anything else coming up you want to talk about or promote?
No, that's it. Like I said, I might be hosting 1 or 2 game nights at my house, or we go meet at TGG one night, get some of these games hammered out.
Yeah,
Nice.
Well, keep me on the list when you're putting stuff together. I can't always make it. This is a real busy time of year. Carlos and I were just talking. I got kids' graduations. Went to one today. I've got another one at the end of the month. I've got 2 kids leaving for college this summer, so we're trying to get all that squared away. So next couple of months for me is going to be busy, but I'm always trying to look for opportunities to fit in games. So let me know when you're getting together, and I'll see if I can make it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Appreciate it, Jim. Thanks for calling.
Thanks
as
for
always.
making it a call-in show, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
No problem. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, Jim.
And
all right, so Ares Expedition Crisis is that might bounce off the wish list onto the actual cart. I'll see if Armada has a copy on their shelves first. But that one has been on my list for a while because I really do enjoy playing Terraforming Mars solo, and with people. But Rob doesn't like it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not. Rob's not a fan of it.
yeah, the Ares Expedition, I'm not it's not like the greatest game, but I enjoy it. It gives me that terraforming feel.
And that Puerto Rico feel. That simultaneous
follow action kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Which when you're playing with 3 players or more, I enjoy that more, right? Because it's like you're really relying on someone to take that action. Beans and Ice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
What is up?
Hey, it's our hostess with the mostest.
This is Nick from Wesley Chapel.
Hello, Mr. Oben.
How are you?
Outstanding. Let's go, guys. Happy Thursday. How are you?
Doing good. You been throwing axes tonight?
I have. I have been throwing axes and drinking margaritas. So, we're good to go.
Nice. I can hear a little bit of that in your voice, believe it or not.
A little bit
Latino
twang in there.
What is it? About feeling good. He was a little.
Only a little.
Yeah.
Only a little.
Okay. Good deal. What's up?
I know. Just tuning in. Heard Jim. End of Jim's call. Yeah, I'm all about. I love the live VGA teaches and hanging out. It's honestly from a convenience and effectiveness standpoint, it's hard to beat, right? Like, let's hop on and teach each other games on BGA, and we can like sip on some whiskey from our comfort of our home. We can have the camera going on Discord. Like, it's all good. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's good times. We used to do more of that. We got away from it a bit, but yeah, we need to go back and have those meetups on BGA.
Yeah, especially for the 18X games. I know you guys are into that.
Oh yeah, big time.
Hey,
moving on.
Let me get my calculator out.
I would play that 1846 game again. That wasn't too bad.
I know, Wayne. You said for Dice Tower East, maybe get a game. So I've got 1846.
Yeah.
I have 1846, and then Rob, you gifted me 1853. I haven't actually learned that yet. I haven't had the 2 weeks to study. But 1846 we know how to play, or at least passingly so. And I will definitely bring that to Dice Tower East. I've actually considered cracking that open just during a regular Saturday game day, because honestly, teach plus play is, I mean, it's not short by any means, but it's inside of 4 hours probably, which for one of those games is reasonable, And then
we have to be like, do it like,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I say like that's the kind of game like Tom Vassell talked about that today. Is like get up early, start the game 7 a.m. Get your breakfast, get coffee, play the game. Then you're done by like 11. You get lunch, and then you're good to play games the rest of the day. So like maybe we can arrange getting one of those heavier ones in early.
All right, Carlos, while they're doing that, I will play Clash of Cultures with you. What does that tell you?
Oh, wow. I love this. The better of two evils.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't make a choice between those two for me, though, because I love Clash of Cultures.
Yeah.
William and I are planning to get a game of that together. William and I have our own little Discord chat going where we're currently listing out all the different war games that we're going to get played.
Nice.
War of the Ring, the card game, Clash of Cultures, Sekigahara. Yeah. We got some good stuff going.
That sounds good. I want to play again. Actually, if Will's listening or just available, last year he brought a really, really neat card war game. What was the game, Carlos?
I remember,
but I can't remember the name.
Oh, man. It's the Roman
Caesar,
game. Barracks. Caesar's Barracks.
Caesar's Barracks?
I think it was by Osprey. It's a trick-taking style war game from, not Osprey, GMT Games.
GMT.
Excuse me.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
I do want to play that one.
Yeah, that was really nice.
That one's interesting because it's trick taking, but more area control trick taking on a board. Mm-hmm. Playing the idea of trying to get the influence of the different generals that work for Caesar.
Yep. Yeah, and it was really neat the way that you had to you could complete you think you've got a general locked down, and then someone plays a card with a power that switches the positions of two cards, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's my general now. Bye bye. It was good. It was good. Anyways, yes, I'll get on all that stuff. But I actually played some games since last calling in. We did have a little shindig here at Oben House Farms, and game of the day, I got to give it up to Wayne. He brought an oldie but good Village. Village was a lot of fun. What was that, Wayne? 2012 game?
2011.
2011.
Yeah, we talked about it a little earlier, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, there you go. You've already covered it.
Well, give us your thoughts.
I enjoyed it.
You got to chime in. So you don't have to. You don't have to explain all the game, but you tell us what you thought.
Sure. Well, no, I liked it a lot, and I admit it got me thinking. And then this has now become a theme. You know how when you start seeing certain numbers or you start talking about certain things, you seem to repeat that and see it again. Oh man, the theme for me this week has been when a game tells me what to do. I kind of like that. Okay, give me a mission, especially on the first play, right? Because that game, like so many others, there's so many different paths you could go. I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on that. I heard at the end of Jim's call, he talked about that game. You have to have a plan and kind of stick to it. I want the game to tell me, okay, here's your path. Maximize this path. Score points. Do what you can do in between that plan, but basically do this plan. And I just stumbled into one of the, I guess, three main areas you could do in that game, which, funny enough, from a theme perspective, was the path where you leave the village. Like the game is about building up this village and investing in government and attending church and investing in generation after generation of artisan and craftsmen. And then there's the top right of the board where Uncle Joe just says, "Fuck you guys, I'm out. Like, I'm leaving the village. I'm gonna go make a name for myself somewhere else." You know, like after 10.
We're after 10. Yep, you're good. You're good.
And so early on, it made sense for me to literally take that action one time. That was it. I took the action one time because I had the resources and I could do it. And the way that you already explained it before, the way the cubes work, you kind of have to take certain actions when they become available. And so that action was available to me. And then, as fate lended a hand, there was like a citizen you could hire that Rob buried because he was like, "Oh, Nick is doing the path
We
route,
mentioned that.
so I'm going to and I'm like, well, then screw you. I'm going to go get that one. And I happened to get a card that let me pull a previously buried citizen back into the fray. And then that became then my mission for the whole game. I felt like Dan playing viticulture. So when Dan plays viticulture, he's like, you know what? Screw making wine. I'm going to do everything else and get points, right? This is a game about making wine. Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get points for like giving tours and stuff. So this is a game in Village. I was like, this is a game about building up this village. I'm going to score as many points as I can by sending my people out of the village, leave, get out of this little, countryside village, and let's go somewhere else. And it worked out. It worked out because I got lucky and was able to force multiply that strategy with multiple cards that all rewarded me for doing that path. So I like it a lot. But as a game that has multiple paths to victory, I happened to pick one and then it worked. Wayne, you were saying you've seen people have some success with that, but not crazy success. I'm sure I only did well because I had, I think, 3 different cards that made that path more point heavy for me.
You definitely, you cranked that out big time.
Yeah, it was good. And then, but in between turns, I mean, I was still being strategic when I could. You can't take the path action every time. There's only so many cubes, right? And so, I tried to have just enough grain to be a little effective in town, and a couple of points here for the church. I ignored government. I did one. I sent one guy to the courthouse or the government house the whole game. Got my first player token one time and was like, all right, I'm done. It's cool. We're good now.
Yeah, me too. One time.
But, get the government.
Yep.
No, I think it was a great group. I think between you and Rob and then Sam, it was like that's like the group to teach like an old Euro too. You guys were all real digging it. I think
eating it up. Yeah,
it was fun. I'll say that like I talked about when you start like seeing certain patterns and you start looking for those patterns. Joe Garcia and Rob are playing an Arc Nova game. Joe's trying to learn Arc Nova via BGA, and we're helping him out. So back to the BGA. And again, that's one where what Rob and I were trying to talk about is, well, the game kind of tells you early on with those conservation projects what you could be going for, right? Like here's 3 possible paths that you could go down. And as we're explaining with Joe, it made me just think about that. Like, yeah, like games that give me that path, they give me mechanics that are interesting, and then they give me a path to victory or a path to points to at least start the game. And then, of course, as the game ebbs and flows, you need to be flexible and change things up as needed. But
right.
That's my takeaway from Village. We did that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just to jump in there before you jump back to Village. But as a slight counterpoint to that, one of the other things that I really, really like, one of the mechanics that I'm finding I like more and more as I play more and more Arc Nova. And Carlos, I'm really coming around on Arc Nova. I know we really did not like this game when we first played it, but the more I play
I'm really not like the game.
Really, I like it.
I haven't shifted from that
quite a bit now. But
I've come around too, Rob. So
is it the BGA thing?
Probably
because
Yeah,
the
makes it faster
tabletop
and
is
easier.
horrible.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day. Is that before I forget my point though, we can come back to that in a second. I'm old. I forget stuff. But so the thing I really like in that is that you get those 2 objective cards right from the beginning of the game, and you don't have to make a decision on which of those 2 objectives you have to discard one at about it's somewhere between one third, maybe halfway through the game. Somebody's going to hit a point on that score track that requires everybody to choose one of those cards. And so again, I understand what you're saying. Definitely, Nick. I like games that give me some path and some, they say, hey, do this, go here, do the thing. This is how you get points. But I do love that a little bit of flexibility there that if if my starting cards don't come out one way or the other, or the cards don't hit that market one way or the other, I do have that other thing that I can do. So I do like that choice in it. But back to, what we were talking about.
Oh, no, and that's honestly that's right along with it too, because you're still one of 2, right? One
Right.
of 2 paths.
Sure.
You kind of start to pick which one is going to synergize the best for you based on your starting hand, based on how things are going, et cetera. So I mean, I like that. Obviously, I don't want a script, right? That's
Sure.
the thing. I don't want a script. I want guidance and kind of a carrot, a dangling carrot. But then how I move forward towards that reward is still that's the game. Honestly, that's the game. And so yeah, it's good stuff. I like it.
Yeah.
What else? We I'm already taking up time, but
Go.
We played Frosthaven last night.
We did.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Frosthaven played you.
Yeah, Frosthaven played us. But although, again, we talked about it afterwards. I mean, we did spend, 2.5, maybe 3 hours going through that scenario. Well, yeah, maybe 2.5 of actual play time.
It didn't work well.
Yeah, we didn't. I'd like to say we barely lost, but we were far enough away from it that we all felt that this wasn't one that we would say, oh, we were just a turn or 2 away. And we've in the past, a few times we've said, we were just a card flip away. We're going to go ahead and just move on. If we lose, we don't do that. Again, I'm probably the most purist in the group. I know some of the other guys don't like it when they look at me and they see that face, and I'm like, no, we're doing this one again. But we were far enough away from beating it. But I think we all kind of agreed at the end that this is in Frosthaven and Gloomhaven, when you fail the first time and you kind of learn the way the scenario works, I am confident that we all make a tweak or 2 to our starting deck, and we will probably breeze through. Oh, I can't say breeze through, but we'll beat this one probably with a little room to spare next time.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, this is the one. This is a hallmark example of it is clear that we can beat it, and it was fairly clear to me. I mean, I admit I was the slow guy, the slowpoke last night, and just played it wrong from the beginning, not knowing that I was playing it wrong from the beginning, because we didn't know. We didn't know how the scenario.
You discover stuff as you go. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and so like this is a hallmark example in Frosthaven of how you saw immediately after we shut down, I made the changes to my deck that I wanted to make, and honestly, I was like, okay, I know what to do now. Like, I'm ready to go. Like I obviously wasn't about to re-rack and like, hey, let's play again.
Right.
But I'm mentally ready to play again already, because I know that this is a good example of failing and doing it again, because it's like exciting. Okay, we see why we failed. I know I can do better, and boom, let's do it again.
Beat that puzzle.
I actually was thinking about it again today, being like literally like planning out like the first turn. Okay, and then before we break down that first door, I'm going to make sure I do this so we're ready. And then Rob gets the +3 movement when he opens the door, so he's going to go here and blow shit up and blah, I'm like thinking like, okay, well, I honestly think now that we know what's going to happen in rooms 2 and 3, it's almost going to be. It's just gonna be fun to like crush it. It's gonna be like, all right, we got this. Like, it'll be good. It'll be good.
I agree 100%. Yep, it feels good, and yeah, I'm ready to. I think I made the joke last night. I said, all right, let's reset it, do it right now. Obviously, at 11 or 11:30, that was not a serious thing, but it was
So
like
instead, you went home and played Terraforming Mars with the kids.
Exactly. No, it was the night before, but yeah, until 1:30 in the morning. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I agree 100%. I somewhat appreciate. I was just thinking as you were talking in my head, I was going to make the comment that in Gloomhaven, usually you could just brute force your way through it. If you hadn't brought enough hard hitting cards, most of those scenarios are just beat all the bad guys. I do appreciate that even though Frosthaven is harder and it's more puzzly, I do appreciate that it makes us think more. We really do have to coordinate things. We really do have to. I thought we were getting a lot of that in Gloomhaven, and then Frosthaven just took that bar up a notch. And it's not all just destroy everything, bring the right cards, just kill everything. Some of these scenarios you gotta kind of figure out the puzzle. So yeah.
Yep. No, for sure. And, I mean, we saw that last night. Honestly, looking back on it, it was a learning play, but we basically lost that. I mean, we basically lost that scenario in the first room. We didn't know it yet. We just didn't know it yet. We just played that. I played that wrong, not knowing. No one knew. So
Sure. Yeah.
It was good. It was good though.
Good times.
No spoilers.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Yep.
I'm going to say it on air because now I've forgotten not once but twice, Rob, to give you Carlos's Darwin. In the footsteps of Darwin.
I never thought about
I knew that you were going to see it. I knew you were going to see him tonight. I meant to give that to you over the weekend and last night. And so, hey, Carlos, I'm trying to.
He's got a few games that he can play. That's all right. He's okay.
Yeah, he's good.
Now, did it get any play at the Nick Oben game day?
It did not. It didn't over the weekend at the game day here over the weekend. Although it definitely could have. It's right here. But we have played it, and me and the boys liked it a lot for sure. In fact, now that I missed these two opportunities to get it to Rob back to you, maybe we'll play it tomorrow or something before you do return it because it was good. No, on the Nick Oben game day, a lot of games were played. It was a great split was played. They had like a 7-player great split going at one point. I think. Which was pretty sweet. That was actually played during our 4-player game of Village.
Right.
And then I know we did Welcome to later in the day again with like 7 or 8 people.
I think it was either 8 or 9. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, everyone can play. Let's just circle around. What else was played that day? We had some good stuff. What else did I do? Oh, we did Takanoko late in the day. Rachel stayed pretty late. Wayne stayed pretty late. Can't get rid of that guy.
Wow. I mean, if you got that much pork laying around, it's hard to get rid of the guy.
I love your smoked meat. Smoked meat.
That's what it was. No, actually, Wayne, it was really great having you there. First to show up and among the last to leave. That was a fun day.
When I got out to a game day, like that's like between kids soccer and work and stuff like that. Like if I'm on a game day, I want to get there the earliest, and I'm staying like I don't get to do it like every week, right? Just with life, you may play a couple games at home, and then you get a game day in once a month. That once a month game day, I'm all in. It's like,
agree.
Well, and next time, please bring the fam too. I loved Sam's entire family was there. Her husband Ken and their 3 kids were all there in the pool, hanging out, eating and whatnot. So when I host game days here, I definitely open the doors to everyone. I'm actually big into that. Even the Wesley Chapel official game days are built around that premise where it's a social activity. That's why I like to have it at breweries or at cafes or at ice cream parlors. It's like, hey, bring everybody. Let's find something that everyone can do. Because I am sensitive to what you just said. Schedules are tight, and it's tough sometimes to turn to your spouse and be like, hey, honey, have fun with kids. I'm gone. I'm going to go play board games for 8 hours, right? And that's okay, right? And I mean, our spouses are cool, so it normally is okay. But it's cooler still, potentially, if you be like, oh, and you're invited. Like, come hang out and eat and drink and be merry. So that's the environment I go for on the game days is everyone's invited.
Well, achievement unlocked. I heard it was a success.
Good times. Yep.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Hostess with the mostest.
All right. I try hostess. Come on now. That's all I got for you guys, I think. Awesome. Anything else?
That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you for keeping it. Awesome. Thank you for keeping it a call-in show. We appreciate you.
Call-in show, absolutely. You guys have a wonderful rest of your year.
You too. Thanks, Nick.
Good night, Nick.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
So Arc Nova, I really want to try the expansion because I've actually like Rob, like you were saying, I've kind of warmed up to Arc Nova a bit more and more as I played on BGA, but I still want more of a like the nukes in Dune where you wipe the thing, cycle, go hunting for cards more because it's just too many cards. You're always hunting for things you're looking for.
Marine expansion, definitely.
I want to give it a shot.
Does the Marine expansion add a way to refresh the market?
It has the wave cards that when you get a wave card, you can wash away the market. Yep, wash away the whole market, reset it. Yep. You got some more news articles?
We'll see what
Fallout.
Wayne's
The other well,
Oh.
there was one Fallout game that. So I have I said before, my Dragon Con crew. There's a bunch of them that love Fallout. They play Fallout video games together online, and then they do cosplay for it. And I remember that he bought when that game came out. Adam, he bought that game, and it was they didn't like it very much. But now that there's a co-op one that came out, I'll have to mention that to him to see if he has it. Or if he doesn't, then make sure he gets it. But they played another Fallout game that was like the shelter, the vault building game, or whatever.
William owns that
We
one.
played that several times. Yeah,
And that one is actually pretty good. Right?
yeah, it is good. We liked it a lot.
It's a good worker placement game.
Yeah, I like it.
There was an article by Dicebreaker on April 18th. Dicebreaker did an article titled "The Best Fallout Games to Stash in Your Tabletop Vault After Finishing the Fallout TV Show" by Dicebreaker. It talks about what about everyone had a chance to watch the show, but a ton of people want to go download Fallout 4 in New Vegas. But what about those of us who prefer to unhook from screens for a while, right? And it says, should you ever find yourself needing to pass the time in an underground bunker while the surface turns to dust, you can't really go wrong by adding these to your vault. The first game is Fallout. And that's the FFG one that Rob was talking about.
Yeah.
It says somehow it took until 2017, 2 decades after the first Fallout computer game, for the series to be turned into an official board game. The Fallout board game looks to condense the experience of crossing the vast wastelands as your lone wanderer into a multiplayer game lasting only a couple of hours, crammed with faithful details from the video games, such as the special stats and traits. It draws on from both the Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. Players can discover dozens of different storylines that can change the world around them based on their decisions, just like in the video games. For example, you rescue a dog from being beaten in a town, and it might reappear later on to join you as a loyal ally. It says the only caveat, though, is that the Fallout board game opted for a competitive format. And it says the problem was solved by the Atomic Bonds expansion, introduced much-needed options to play in co-op.
Yep.
So what originally happened was you would flip these objectives, you would get objectives, and they would be worth different things. And depending on where you were on the board, you could quickly flip your objective into points, and a lot of points, whereas other players might get stuck with some real low-point objectives that are going to be impossible or hard to get, so it's very unbalanced. But apparently, by turning these objectives into cooperative objectives,
Right.
I'm going to be helping Rob meet his objectives. We're going to be working together as a group to meet objectives.
I like that.
So that was the first game it cited, the Fallout one, which it's going to go on my Christmas list. Not
Okay.
my exact...
Not
like,
my got to buy today.
not by today, but it's going to go on the Christmas list. The second game it talks about is and let me know, Wayne, if any of these are some that your friends have
I may
talked
have
about.
it before Christmas. But go ahead.
Fallout Wasteland Warfare. It's part miniatures game and part RPG game, all Fallout. It says 32 millimeter plastic figures that you can paint up and let loose on the battlefield. It says it's a war game that brings in narrative events and objectives to tie scenarios into ongoing campaigns. It talks about how you can team up in a co-op mode against an AI. It's part war game, part role-playing game. Anyone brought up that one?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah.
Then there's the third game they bring up is the one that you just brought up, which Rob and I got to play with William.
Yeah. played it a couple
We
times.
should make William bring it to Dice Tower.
That'd be a good time.
Since Fallout is so big right now. But maybe by then you'll finish the series.
Maybe.
by Dice Tower.
Maybe. It'd be close.
Maybe close. Fallout Shelter, the board game. So this is another FFG title. It puts the players in the role of overseer for one of its iconic vaults. In Fallout Shelter, the board game, the players are competing for the position of vault overseer. The players must expand their vault with new rooms and manage the vault dwellers, deal with threats, and most of all, make them as happy as possible. I love that dichotomy in the game. That whole it was in the show. In the show. Let's see. It says worker placement board game, which it is. Arguably feeling even more at home on the tabletop than it did on the phone screen. So apparently this was a phone app
It
game.
was an app, yeah.
There was an app. Yeah.
Fallout Shelter?
76.
My wife plays the Fallout Shelter.
Was it
app.
Shelter? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fallout Shelter, the board game, is far better than you would expect and worthy addition to the library of Fallout games on the tabletop. The eye-catching components, including a Vault Boy miniature, which I thought those were adorable, because you had different Vault Boy miniatures that you would drop on your specials to kind of fill in your specials. Have you played that one at all, Wayne?
No, I have not, but I've seen it played. I was at a game day at my friend's house when he played it a while back. It looked
Comes
good.
in a tin, which
10,
is really
yeah.
good and bad.
It's like a medic tin.
It looks cool,
Yeah.
but it does not fit well on the game shelf, of course. But yeah.
No.
And Armada, when they originally got them in, they did get the playmats, and I think William scooped up a playmat because we had when you're playing out the locations, you're playing them almost like what was the Miners game?
Dice Miners. Right?
Dice Miners,
Yeah.
kind of like Dice Miners. You're gonna be playing these square cards on the tabletop in different levels. So you're kind of going across to build your vault, but then you're also going down deep to build your vault, and different monsters and threats are gonna happen. So the player mat helps to kind of organize all that.
Cool.
And then finally, the last one that they talk about is the Fallout role-playing game. So it says, despite starting life as a video game adaptation of a pen and paper RPG system, I didn't know this, that Fallout originally started as a digital version of Steve Jackson's GURPS.
Yeah.
So
GURPS,
GURPS is a role-playing system. They presented it to Steve Jackson and said, hey, we'd like to make this series of games using your GURPS system. And he's like, that's stupid.
He missed it on that. Missed the
Yeah.
train.
So then after that, they switched it up to their own system. But it says Fallout tabletop rooted gameplay was somehow never turned into an official tabletop role-playing game for almost nearly 25 years. It took 25 years to make this thing into a role-playing game. So it's not GURPS. But those are the 4 games that Dicebreaker says are Fallout-based that you should enjoy if you enjoyed the Fallout series.
I think, like Jim said, though, I mean, 24 years of gaming, I can't think of very many like video games that have been like turned into a board game where I'm just like, oh, that game's awesome. Like, you know, it took an expansion to make the Fallout one palatable. Although the one Fallout game is actually pretty good. But I can't think of really any that are fantastic. Now I've seen other IPs, movies and books and things like that. Obviously,
Assassin's Creed's coming, so we'll have to see on that one. I know God of War's coming. The full
Dark
tabletop
Souls,
game.
wasn't that a video game?
Yeah, it's a video game. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, some of those mega franchises.
See, I don't have any of the Fallout games, but after watching the series twice, just to make sure I didn't miss anything, I was like really like hooked on playing something post-apocalyptic.
Yep.
And for me, it has ended up being 51st State. Like 51st State to me allows me to play solo. It isn't truly it isn't direct combat. There are ways to interact with each other. You can spend red connection tokens to destroy other players' locations to raise them. Yeah. You both kind of get some benefits when that happens. But it isn't like aggressively competitive. Kind of like Radlands, right? That's another 2-player post-apocalyptic game that I was thinking about playing, but that one is like straight up direct combat.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that would go well with my son.
Yeah, destroying your opponent's bases. Yeah.
What else is post-apocalyptic that can give you that Fallout end-of-the-world feel?
Oh, there's Wasteland Express delivery service. Just thinking post-apocalyptic. There's something called, was it Survive? I haven't played that one. I don't know.
I have Wasteland. I've never played it. I just keep hearing that it's
pretty straight. Just pick up and deliver.
but very random in its scoring.
Stuff comes up randomly. Yeah, pick up and deliver randomly.
So some folks can really run away with it, whereas you just kind of get shafted.
Yeah, can be lucky. But it's fighty, and there's NPCs. If I remember that, it's been 10 years since I played it. Not quite that, but 8 years. It was right after it came out. But yeah, there's some NPCs that go around that you can attack or they attack you, as well as fighting against the other players. So you can get unlucky. Yeah, there's big luck swings in that game. But
I can't think of any. I can't really. Post-apocalyptic. You either go in full Mad Max. You don't get
Thunder Road. See, Mad Max to me, to Carlos, Mad Max is like automotive driven.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Yep.
This War Mine, is that no, that's post. That's probably not post.
That's a straight war.
That's middle of
That's pre-apocalyptic.
a bomb
right before we bomb
bombed-out
everything
building.
out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, what else is on the news agenda there?
I saw an article on ICV2, the largest TCG tournament ever. It's an article written by Milton Gripe. He talks about Konami's Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series Tokyo this past weekend broke the Guinness World Records for the biggest TCG tournament and most entrants in the TCG tournament with 7,443 participants.
And wasn't that the one that they limited it to only Japanese people? Like, you couldn't be a
Yes,
foreigner?
I had brought that up a couple 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
I was wondering how that would impact it. Well, apparently it didn't.
Apparently.
They showed
Well,
up.
and it could be like, it's just conjecture, but like when you limit outside competition, so the best players flying in, it may dissuade a lot of like your average players or people that like aren't like, especially like culturally Japanese. They may be like, no chance of winning. I don't want to get embarrassed, whatever. So you eliminate all the foreign players and it's only Japanese, natives. That you may have a bunch of people that go, okay, now I'm willing to come back out because culturally.
There's something to be said for that because in the X-Wing tournament circles community, there were groups of folks who they just traveled to every store tournament to like leave with all the prizes. Like that was that's their shtick, and you know them by name. You'd be like, oh, dang, here he is again. He's going to walk away with the trophy. Zeno was one of those guys.
Yeah.
He just drove around to all the different tournaments and just walked away with all the trophies. And it really did not harm. It was a negative experience for the local community.
Yeah.
Because you've got your local group of 15, 20 players, and they're used to competing against each other. And then you get these ringers that come in from outside and just take all the prizes with them home.
So that was the good thing is we did that back when I played HeroClix. I was actually a very good HeroClix player, right? I had won a bunch of the tournaments and things. And after a while, what we did amongst all like in the Tampa Bay area, the HeroClix players, is like when you won a tournament, then you were the judge for the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
Bounce out a little bit.
We kind of bounced around a little bit between the judges and the judges got like a limited edition figure for judging. So it's like, okay, you still get something.
I always like judging. I got a lot of good swag.
I got the big like HeroClix judge shirt still somewhere in my nerd drawer of shirts. But I thought it was a cool concept. Is like, well, all the best players, there was, 7 or 8, 9, 10 of us that were really good players. Well, we'd all just take turns judging. So that it wasn't like, other people had a chance to play. Because like you said, though, if you're a good player and you're just driving every place and crushing everybody, people are not going to go, right?
At least it'll crush the local community. You'll still be driving around.
Yeah.
Now, it says that this record that was broke a 2012 record set by Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship held in Long Beach, California, where they had 4,364 entrants. So almost over a 3,000 increase in TCG players being taken from California, holding the record to Tokyo. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Just looking on there. So Chester on the chat says Wayne be flurrying.
Yeah.
Is that taking all the stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
What else y'all got? Any other topics y'all want to hit?
No,
Some of
that's
this
all. Was a little interesting. I was just say they Origins Game Fair. I've never been. I don't think any of us have ever been.
Okay. I've been once.
Oh, have you been once? Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess give us a little background on the Game Fair. I mean, this isn't. Oh, go ahead.
10 or 15 years since I've been. So
it's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For what I understand, this isn't much of a gamery convention. It's a little bit more about. There's a lot of exhibitors there. There's a lot of people showing off new stuff. There's a lot of demoing. It's. I know they talked a little bit about this on Dice Tower, although I'd heard about it a day earlier. But they are taking a little bit different a route, and it'll be interesting to see whether some of the other big board game.
Do something
conventions, do something like this, and they've announced that they're
just.
Go ahead.
I would say, popped in my head, the best way to describe Origins is between Gen Con and Gamma, right? So, Gamma Trade Fair is I own a game store. I'm going to meet manufacturers and distributors, and they're going to demo me the games, and they're going to try and convince me to buy games. So it's very much a store-based thing. And
you can't just buy a ticket to that, right? I mean, you have to kind of
you
be in
have
the
to
industry.
you have to own a store, yeah. And I went to those when I had a friend that owned a game store. We went.
Right.
It was Gamma was out in Vegas at that point, so we were there, and then Origins was in like outside of Columbus, Ohio. But Gen Con, right, is gamer. It's just everyday people. Origins is kind of in between. It's got a lot of the gamma type stuff and proto feel type stuff, but it has a little bit for the regular everyday gamer. So it's kind of like a hybrid.
Yeah, you can buy tickets to Origins. I was just checking out their site. So anybody can go. I think it is fairly limited, if I remember. I don't think it's. I think there is a cap on it. I don't know what the cap is. I think it's still a fairly large gaming convention, but it's not one of the big 2 or 3, I would say. But it's probably that kind of that second tier right now, from what I understand. But anyway, the big thing that they're doing this year is they have announced that they're going to have all of these. They're not going to say it, but kind of B-level stars from some popular TV shows, movies, different aspects. I didn't know who all these people were, but they've got a list of them on their site that they just listed a couple days ago. But they've got a couple of Kevin Sussman from Big Bang Theory. He's not one of the main characters. He was the guy that owned the comic book shop. What was his name on the show? Anybody recall? Anyway.
It wasn't on Univision.
It wasn't on Univision? No? Okay. Not one of yours. But Better Call Saul, he was on. Burn Notice. They've got Adrian Paul from The Highlander. They've got Drew Powell, who was on. Oh, you got the list there. Okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
Adrian Padalecki, whatever. She's not a B-list celebrity, man. She's been on a lot of stuff, man. John
really?
Wick. Yeah. She was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's on a lot of stuff.
The Orville, I guess, is the one that a lot of people know her from now. She is one of the main characters. She's the
she's the second in command. The
XO?
number
one, number one, the second in command, on there. So she has a main character on there. But I guess it's
kind of like Dragon Con-esque,
right? Yeah. That's the whole thing here. They have musical guests that they're bringing in, guys who are known in the geek community for doing music. They've got Gary Gygax's son is going to be there. So they've got all these kind of.
Wait, they're highlighting Gary Gygax's son?
They are.
He's got a list. Published. He's
well, I know that was it Gen Con that banned him for a bit?
No, he's got 2 sons.
It's the other son.
There's the asshole.
The other Gygax.
There's the asshole scumbag, and then there's the good one. This is the good one.
This is the good one.
Allegedly.
He's got a dog in his picture here. Wayne doesn't have it up there yet. Luke Gygax. But Elizabeth Hargrave is going to be there. Mike Elliott. So they've got all of these. Yeah. They're not. I guess the way they were talking about on Dice Tower is that these aren't big megastars. These aren't a lot of the lead people in the shows that they were on. They were kind of the second tier. So. But anyway, and Steve Bonacore, there you go, kind of second tier. No. Anyway, so it's just interesting that they're taking this, that they're bringing in authors, they're bringing in musicians, they're bringing in these other celebrities in the geek community. And so I know they were saying on Dice Tower that it'll be interesting to see if this becomes a trend, that they're coming more of like a Comic-Con or something. There's some speculation. I guess they haven't announced anything yet whether they're going to have these people available to pay them for their signatures.
Oh, that definitely will.
Yeah, you think? Okay,
yeah,
so that's the thing.
Kind of like Dragon
cons.
Con.
Yeah, people like this, they do not go to a con if they're not going to get paid.
Some kind of compensation for it. Yeah,
they get their flight, they get their hotel, and then they do autographs, and that's how they make money.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if more, I don't know if this will seep into the board game community or this will just be an Origins thing. Maybe they're just testing it out to see. But they didn't invite just 1 or 2. I mean, you can see here as Wayne was scrolling, there's 40 or 50, and they've never had anything like this before, from what I understand. And now they've got this whole, it's more than, I was going to call it a panel, but it's not a panel. I mean, this is 40 or 50 people who are going to be there maybe on different days or whatever. Mm-hmm. But this is something that'll probably bring some other people who may not be there just for the board gaming to kind of come and meet some of these people, get some signatures. It'll be interesting to see how that affects this convention and other board game conventions maybe in the future if it becomes successful. So
yeah, I think
it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, having been to Dragon Con for 20 something years, 24 years, the celebrities are big, and they make bank. Some now like A-list celebrities, they charge a decent chunk, but I mean, like Patrick Stewart's like $100 a signature, right?
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah.
And he'll sit there for 3-4 hours signing, so even like B-level celebrities, like I would guarantee that Adrian, she's probably $75 a signature.
Okay.
In that range.
Yeah, she's
and
those two, Sussman and her, I think, are probably the 2 big draws there. But yep.
And they'll probably do. There's companies like Froggy Photo is, I think, one of them, where they sign contracts with these companies, and then you pay the company I want a signature and a photograph. Okay, that'll be $150. And then they give you a time and you line up and you go and you get your signature, you get your, minute. And I did it. I'm not a huge fan of like paying for the signatures, right? But we did Patrick Stewart. My wife and I got Patrick Stewart's photo, and it was you got about 30 to 40 seconds with him. You got to say a couple words. Hey, turn, take your photo. Here's your autograph. Move on next. So it was. I'm not a huge fan of that because you don't spend really any kind of quality time there. But it was like it's Patrick Stewart. You got to do it right. But there's a.
So I think for me, when we went to CMON Expo, like my biggest draw was the panels with the game designers.
Yeah.
Like that to me, and I get it. There's going to be folks who are really going to enjoy that TV and film and music stuff. Won't be me. I'd be more interested in joining panels and hearing designers talk about the gamings, the games.
That's my thing. Is I generally like the panels. Like I'd rather go to an hour-long conversation with Patrick Stewart where he's telling stories and answering questions. Pay the $100 to go get a signature. His signature on a thing. But yeah, I would love to like go to like Hargrave and Matt Leacock talking about how they design their games and that'd be kind of cool. So
yeah.
All right, let's wind this show down. Phone lines are done for the evening. I did finish a 3-body problem on Netflix.
The whole season.
Nice.
Kind of upset.
Uh-oh.
Have you read that story about the murder and the poisoning?
I heard about that. The actual real life body problem. Apparently sentenced to death. I think this was it a director?
So it's like the director, producer, guy who wanted to who did the original show and tried to convert it to the American. He like got some like Chinese billionaire to like help fund it, and then like something happened. I didn't read and he like poisoned the dude on set and like murdered him, and like a bunch of other people got sick and like from the poisoning or something. Yeah, it was a crazy story. Wow. So yeah.
No, I think for me it was I don't know. I kind of like a contained like series, like the whole. All right, well, see you next season, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like, do we even know if they've been picked up for another season? Are we gonna figure out how this ends? Are you really gonna leave me?
There is books you could read. So,
reading?
Oh, a book?
Oh,
I'm out.
English not so good looking.
No.
Hey, you read books? Come on.
It was a great series though.
It's
3-body problem. It was good. It was good. I think Mike brought it up.
Yeah, he did. I have. We did Fallout, obviously, so we talked about that, and I am now season 3 of Black Sails. It dropped on Netflix, and now that's why I want to play Maracaibo and any other pirate game I can get my hand on. I've cranked through that. Because I remember watching Black Sails on and off when it was like on Showtime back in the day, and with your VidAngel, you'd get about a 2-minute episode.
Oh yeah,
nice. I like that. I can get through the whole season. Like that.
It's not that bad, but I mean, it's basically just the story of pirates in Nassau, right? So it's going to be a lot of brutality and other stuff. But it's a good show. I enjoy it. It's a good one. I like a good pirate themed show.
Has anybody watched Shogun yet? My oldest son keeps asking me about Shogun.
I want to start it, but like honestly, like I do a lot of my watching while I work. I've got the 3 monitors here, whatever, and the Hulu
watching while you work.
Yeah, watching while I work.
Rob and I don't understand this concept. Like the
I'm
work
on the
we
phone
do.
all day, and
I don't talk to people at work. It's like code. And
I can't say that would be a horrible thing.
Must be nice.
I mean, what's funny is TMI is there'll be days where I don't have any meetings and I'm sitting here coding and working on systems so I can have something.
We need to find a different job.
Yeah, we need to change.
But then there are days that like my wife will complain that I'm on meeting after meeting after meeting. But no, long story short is the Hulu like on my web browser sucks. It crashes like constantly.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. It just I can never get it to work right. So I have to watch it on the big TV. Same thing with Apple TV. I don't have my Apple TV on here, so those shows I have to watch on the big TV. So I have to fight for it when my wife's not playing Final Fantasy.
I did see that Black Sails did end up on VidAngel, so I might have to give that one a shot.
It's a good show. If you like,
probably gonna make me want to play some Merchants and Marauders.
Exactly, yeah. I'm down. So watch it, Carlos, so that we can play Merchants and Marauders because I want to play.
It'll drive that theme.
It's really good. I like it because they bring in fictional characters from like Treasure Island and those kind of things, and they intermix real life pirates. So they have, Bonnie, what's her name? Anyway,
Oh yeah.
it's Bonnie something, and then they have Long John Silver as a character, and they have Blackbeard, and they have and they work in historical things with fictional things. So it's
I like
cool.
that.
Yeah,
that I do
cool.
enjoy.
Yeah, a little history in there.
Yeah, you'll like it. So yeah, I think you'll dig
Good.
the show.
I'm looking for. I started because I was after finishing Three Body Problem. I was looking for what my next thing was going to be, so I started the Marvel X-Men 97. Is that what it's
on
called?
my list. Yeah, I heard it's really good.
It feels like I'm just picking right up where I left off.
Really, the old cartoon. Yeah, I want to go back and rewatch the old cartoon all the way through first. But
I watched the first 2 seasons because I had originally bought the first 2 seasons on Prime.
Right.
So I watched those first 2 seasons, and that's about as far as we got with the kids. But I started 97 on my own, and I watched the first episode, and I'm like, this is very in line with what it was back when I was a kid.
Yep.
97, not that much of a kid.
Yeah. What's the other one I watched? It was on Netflix too. It was like you guys, Guy Ritchie. You watched the Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels movies. So it's
I've
a Guy
seen once,
Ritchie. Yeah, there's it's like a 9-episode thing where like this guy's like a British lord, and his dad dies, and he realizes that his dad was making money by allowing weed guys to grow weed under the estate of this British estate, and he's like what do you mean, like all these criminals? And so it's like this like guy who's now the lord of the house, and he's like trying to like figure out how to get rid of the criminal underworld from his life, and it was good.
But I bet he's going to find out it's so tied into how they make money to keep the estates that he's going to have to figure out how to manage that. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think it's called The Gentleman. It was pretty good. So
haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it was good. So
that's about Rob. Hopefully you'll finish Fallout soon.
Yeah, one of these days. I'm too many things. I'm watching Wednesday. We're watching Fallout.
Oh man, you haven't finished Wednesday?
We're watching what's the space one that I keep talking about?
All Mankind.
No, the older one, Expanse.
Expanse.
Yeah, so me and my
good,
daughter are
man.
watching that.
So
What else? I've got like
It makes you want to play Terraforming Mars,
four
doesn't
other
it?
shows that I'm in the middle. Wrexham. We're in.
Is that what triggered Terraforming
halfway through
Mars?
season
Playing
2.
Expanse?
Me and my daughter have been watching Expanse. Just me and Emmy. Actually, it was my son who wanted to
That
play
whole Terraforming of Mars, like that whole
I don't know. what it is.
Belter.
Yeah.
Belter.
So-
Yeah. You watching Welcome to Wrexham? That's a good show.
Yeah. We're about we're halfway through season 2. I guess there's about 3 or 4 out in season 3, so we're not too far behind. But
Season 3 is about to start. Yeah. So. Or
Yeah.
4,
Actually, we looked last night, and there's I think 3 episodes on season 3 out right now.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah. So you can go start that one. Yep. So go check that one out. But yeah, that's a good one too. We like that. Lower Decks. That's another. I got like 8 shows that I'm watching, but Lower Decks. I actually wanted to watch that. My wife did not. She did not think an animated version of Star Trek was going to be funny or cool. And actually, she's watching it now more than I am. I don't love it. I think it's okay. She is all into it, so it's really funny.
That crossover episode with Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yep.
That got me thinking about watching that.
I'm watching some older stuff, and then Vikings with my son. So yeah, literally, I'm watching like 8 different shows at once. So it's hard for me to focus on one and finish one because it's like I'm watching this with this kid, and watching that with that kid, and this with the whole family.
See, and that's one thing that's good about Melissa is we watch a series to the end, and that's it. Like we focus on nothing else until we get to the end of that.
And me and the 2 older kids are on the last season of The League. We got like 6 episodes left, but that's 8 seasons long. So we finally are getting to the end of that. So The League is great comedy. But,
The League is fun.
Yeah, really raunchy, dirty comedy, but funny. Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we'll update our top 20 boards to give you all the update on how April went.
Let's do it.
And hopefully we'll have Mike Lorenzo with us. But that'll do it for tonight, folks. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm Wayne.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Good night, everybody. We will catch you on the next one.